I'm Frank Malinak, Lee County Judge, and you're listening to Texas County Voice, a podcast for all 254 counties. Thank you for listening.
Hello and welcome to Texas County Voice. In today's episode, County Magazine Managing Editor Mary Huber stops by to share some highlights from the new issue.
2030 will be here soon enough, and when it comes to census planning, the more time spent preparing, the better for Texas as a whole and for Texas counties.
Also, I sat down with Rockwall County Precinct 3 Justice of the Peace Mark Russo and learned how his wrestling, TV, and radio careers prepared him for his current role.
I think it's always important when we're in government to always be flexible and to always use different talents, but always show what you can do and be available to make those differences.
So keep listening to this and more on today's Texas County Voice. The latest issue of our county magazine is out, and here to talk about what's inside is Managing Editor Mary Huber. Welcome, Mary.
Hi, thanks so much. It's good to be here for another chat about the issue and excited to be here with you.
Well, let's start with the cover story, the 2030 census, and why counties should start preparing for it now. Mary, I was not prepared to feel attacked thinking about the year 2030, but I'm glad something as important as a census is getting talked about now. So what are some of the highlights from the story that you found interesting, and why is the census in particular important for the counties?
Yeah, so it is kind of funny to be talking about this in 2025, or maybe people feel that way. But in actuality, 2030 will be here soon enough. And when it comes to census planning, the more time spent preparing, the better for Texas as a whole and for Texas counties. So a lot of people might not know why the census is so important, but it's actually responsible for how the federal government allocates funding for states. This includes for everything from nutrition assistance, special education, highway planning, FEMA dollars. So it touches a lot of areas and it makes a big impact whether we get an accurate count. And unfortunately in 2020 that did not happen. Texas was one of only 6 states that didn't have an accurate count, had an undercount, and it's estimated that that led to $25 billion loss in funding for the state over the past or next 10 years. So it's really, really important for counties to start preparing now because they play a huge role in preparation, whether it's educating their residents about why it's so important and to participate. Also, a really big part of it is getting accurate address data for the Census Bureau so they know what doors to knock on and where to, mail census forms. And obviously, as you know, Texas is growing extremely rapidly. So properties that are there now didn't exist in 2020, so the Census Bureau needs to be aware of new construction and just where to get in touch with people. So super important, and hopefully this story can shed some light on what other counties have done to prepare and what people can start doing now.
Well, I know that, like you said, Texas counties, it's really important to kind of bounce back from the 2020 census. And when I was reading your story, something that stuck out for me was how creative counties have to be in their approach. So what's a county's role and some of the challenges they face?
Yeah, so, as far as challenges, I think a general lack of understanding. I talked to the Texas Census Institute for this story, and generally what they say is people just think, oh, it's nice to know how many people live here. Like, let's just count that number. And they don't really understand, what those numbers are used for. So I think one of the challenges is just a general misunderstanding. Also just a concern about how their data or information is going to be used. So I think an important point is all census data is stripped of personal information. I won't go too much into the story, but there are a lot of challenges, and 2020 in particular was a very difficult year, obviously, because of COVID. I think people just don't answer their doors. That was a challenge. And Hidalgo County, who we spoke to for this story in particular, did a lot of creative things to respond to that in 2020.
Well, I definitely don't want to give away the whole story. This issue is also just packed with great features and information. What are some of the highlights in the magazine that people should know about?
So there's an article that looks at what came out of the 2 special sessions this legislature, so you can get, look at some of the bills and how they affect counties. Also, the holidays are coming up. We have Thanksgiving and Christmas around the corner, which always feels early and soon. So counties do a lot of things to help their residents during this time of year, because obviously people struggle with food insecurity or aren't able to get gifts for their kids. And so a lot of counties do a lot of work to help make that happen. So we spotlight some of those counties. A big one for next week actually is Veterans Day on the 11th. So we do have a feature about Operation Greenlight, which is an initiative by the National Association of Counties, where counties across the nation, but Texas in particular for this, light up their courthouses and some other government buildings to honor veterans on Veterans Day. And so it's just a way to bring attention to their service and a physical representation that people can see.
A standing feature you see in every issue is the Voices of County Government profile. This issue, it's a little different. It's got a new name, and it kicks off a campaign you've had a hand in developing. So what can you tell us about this rename and the campaign? I know you can't say a lot, but what kind of tease can you give us?
This is a big new thing for us. This feature has always been an interview with a county official about their role and, what motivates them in county government. And we're kind of taking a shift right now, and this started when Wise County Judge J.D. Clark was elected or inaugurated as the president of the National Association of Counties, actually. And in that role, the person has an initiative that they pursue. So Judge Clark prioritized counties telling their stories, so county storytellers, and that being a way to make an impact and let the state and other people know about the great things counties are doing. So we want to do that also. That's our role. So this has transitioned into Texas County Storytellers. It starts this issue.
So I did the profile for this issue. I talked with Rockwall County Precinct 3 Justice of the Peace, Judge Mark Russo. Mary, you could say from the first draft I sent you that he has some stories.
Yeah, he has some stories. We had to shorten the article to 2 pages, but he had a lot of interesting background to share, and yeah, you got to talk to him.
He's had a bunch of interesting careers before he became Justice of the Peace in 2012. If we were to look at his LinkedIn, you'd see he has culinary and broadcast degrees. He's worked in TV and radio. He's even been a professional wrestler, and now Justice of the Peace for Rockwall County. So that's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. He brings a wealth of experience and knowledge.
Judge Russo was at TAC recently, and I got to sit down with him and interview him for this episode. When you hear him, you can hear his energy and how he channels it into the county he serves. Let's listen. Today I'm with Rockwall County Precinct 3 Justice of the Peace, Judge Mark Russo. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You've had a wide-ranging career. In a way, they all kind of involve storytelling. Through all your experiences, what does that look like, and how is storytelling influencing your work as Justice of the Peace?
I think that any time through my life, and you're talking about, I guess, pro wrestling, is that correct? Yeah, so I've been very different. I actually started out as a stand-up comedian, and knowing my audience and I learned from Jerry Farber early on. He was a comedian that was on The Tonight Show. And he taught me about that my audience is my money and is my purpose, and to not negate them. And as I got into pro wrestling, it was just being present and being available. And actually how I got available, I started out as a TV cameraman, and then they saw my other abilities. I showcased my abilities of what I could do. So I think it's always important when we're in government to always be flexible and to always use different talents, but always show what you can do and be available to make those differences. I think when you're passionate about government and about making a difference with people, that passion is seen and people will contribute to that. The good news is when you're a heel, there are certain reactions, and heels are the bad guys. And it's easy to be the bad guy because you're eliciting negative reactions. And I think that's the same thing with government. If you want to be the bad guy, you can be, and it's easy. But doing the right thing and being a face and being a good guy is more about doing the right thing and making sure you resonate, but not going out of the scope. In government, we have to stay within our lines and show that we're being the examples in government.
You've been in your role for about 13 years. And was there a moment where you thought, this is home and this is where I'm going to add to the story of Rockwall County?
I don't know that it was that I believed that this was home. I think that I realized that I can make a difference. And I think just like everything available, when I came in, I only had a garbage can. And I didn't know if I could make it because you hear these different things. And as a JP, we go see dead people. We're dealing with people in their crisis. And I'm not sure that I really believed I could handle people in their crisis. And I think the humility and the human concept of just treating people like you'd like to be treated in the golden rule, I think is what's been key.
Just like you said, on day one, you had only a trash can, and now you were recognized as Judge of the Year at this year's Justice of the Peace and Constable Conference. Who are the key mentors or relationships that influenced you?
Well, I would say, first off, I think having a great staff, and we have 3 other really great JPs. We have 4 really great constables. The culture that we have in Rockwall County, the teamwork that we have, and picking up the slack of each other makes a difference. But I would say like a Jackie Miller, who's been instrumental, Al Cohn. And I will tell you, I was so nervous because sometimes you have to go outside your county to find a mentor because you're used to your culture inside. But sometimes you got to figure out, how do people do it different? And Al Cohn was very key to that. He actually was the one that made me feel like I can do this. And Jackie Miller was another one out of Alice County who just said, hey, there's nothing you can't break. And he was just always there. And he still is always there for me. We still talk to this day. We've had David Prey out of West Texas, a lot of JPs. But I would also say constable. My constable who passed away from cancer, he at first was really reluctant, and we became best friends. That constable JP relationship was really instrumental, and I think I was very thankful I had someone like him in my life.
What does that JP constable relationship look like, and how important is it?
I think the ability to talk, the ability to nurture each other. You really need an accountability partner who can talk to you and say, I really wouldn't do it that way. Okay, do what you want, but just know that there's cause and effect to that. I love you regardless. And I think having a coworker that doesn't judge you and just says, hey, I think you did something wrong. There was a issue in the past where a staffing issue occurred and he disagreed. And I just said, you need to trust me on it. And then afterwards he came and said, hey, you did the right thing. You have to have someone that does that with you, that keeps you honest, that keeps you. And I think that's what I love about working with my JPs and constables in Rockwall County. And that's what I love about TAC. There is always someone here. If you don't know, there is someone that can reach out to you. And if you don't know, you can ask people like Haley Click, and they'll say, hey, do you have someone that you might know that you would recommend? Everyone's been helpful at TAC. Rita coaches. I have really good support staff, even with TAC. So I think it's really good to build those relationships. You're not alone.
When we talked this summer, you mentioned how TAC was able to help you in those early days. Can you talk a little more about that?
I mean, I didn't have any allies. I was out of my water because I didn't have any experience. I wasn't chosen by other elected official. I just ran for the job. And I kind of felt like I was working blind. And sometimes there's a stigma. If you're not an attorney and you're a judge, it's kind of like, well, you don't know what you're doing. You're going to break things. And I think TAC gave me doors to open and allowed me to make relationships and hone my skills. And, being through Leadership 254 right now is what I remember Jackie Miller saying to me in the past is, if you're the same judge you are today that you were yesterday, you're not learning. And he said, you won't be the same judge today. You should be changing. And he's right. I felt like over the years I've become more confident in what I do. But now I'm also coaching others where I didn't have that. I'm trying to pass on my knowledge and be welcoming. And that's why I'm an instructor for the training center for the JPs. And I'm a judge advocate. And I really want to make sure that I'm just a good advocate for those. And those new judges, that they have somewhere they can go and feel like they're welcome and that it's okay.
When you think about your past mentors, What have you taken from their guidance that you're now applying to the people you mentor?
I think that the patience that I got from some of the older ones like Al Cone and who retired and Jackie was that even if there's a stupid question, there was never a stupid question. And one thing in this business, if you're willing to do the right thing and learn from it, you're going to get more people willing to help you because they understand that. And I think more opportunities will open up for you. And I think if you're willing to help your citizens, I think it's the same way. We're here to be servant leaders, knowing where Texas Law Help is, knowing where to send people, and going, hey, this is what we do. Here's how we do it. So some of those resources and booklets really do help.
When people ask, what does a justice of the peace do? What's your explanation?
I have no clue. I just keep showing up and I get Judge of the Year. No, we really do impact a lot. And it depends on the size of the county. So there are some counties that do everything. And then there are some that have, I think, 7 or 8 JPs in their county. I am the coroner for my county. We do inquests. So we go out and determine cause and manner of death. I am also the magistrate. I set the bonds on anywhere from the Class Cs all the way to the felony ones. I handle Class Cs, so traffic tickets, finally offenses. I am the truancy judge. So when students don't attend school, I do tow hearings, dangerous dog hearings, and then also civil claims. So we do small claims up to $20,000. And so I have to have the ability to wear different hats. And we're on call. We do 1 week on, 3 weeks off in our county. But you really have to master time management. And the other part of it, I'll have people that are constituents that come in and want to see me. And sometimes it's just really hard because you have to make it important, make your time for them while making sure that you have time to do your job. And sometimes that balancing and that juggling of those tasks can be very difficult at times. And that's why it's important to have relationships with your other JPs and your other elected officials, because you're going to have to rely on them too. It's going to be a partnership and a collaborative effort.
What's the best part of your job?
That I can make a difference in the people I see. I think it's the worst part of my job when I have to go to a scene with families and to give them a little bit of hope in their worst moment. I think that's the same thing when I do magistration. I mean, they're there for a reason. And I think the way that I handle them, the respect and dignity that I give them while doing my job and following the law the right way, to give them confidence in the judicial system, in the confidence in government, and comfort and confidence in our county. I mean, that's a big deal to me. And I think when I see people just saying, hey, I'm glad I live in Rockwall County, that's probably one of the greatest things, is say, hey, we make a difference. I've learned about humor and I've learned about things. And I think no matter what county you are, I think be proud of who you are and be the unique county you are. And just, if you do your best, you're going to get your best. And I just think that it's just treat people like you want to be treated. And I think I'm just thankful for the opportunities I have. And thank you for allowing me to be here today.
A big thank you to Rockwall County Precinct 3 Justice of the Peace, Judge Mark Russo, for his time. Mary, he pretty much let me interview him twice, so you can probably also add really nice person to that LinkedIn profile too. Finally, our TAC Communications and Media Manager, Melissa Molesky, wrote about men's health and how November is also known as Movember, an awareness month for men's mental and health issues. Melissa recently interviewed our TAC Senior Director of Health and Benefit Services, Quincy Quinlan, and Senior Wellness Consultant, Mark Zolich. What can you tell us about this profile?
Yeah, so if you are not aware, November is often known as Movember, and men grow mustaches as an awareness about men's health. So if you see extra mustaches, it's November. That's probably why. And so this story also highlights the importance of men's health. Research shows that men are less likely to see the doctor for preventative care and less likely to talk about mental health issues.
Well, we'll have a full episode of Melissa's conversation on the next Texas County Voice, but in the meantime, here's a preview.
I want to ask, is there a men's group that is more at risk when it comes to health concerns?
Quincy, you want to take that one?
Sure. That's a really interesting question, right? It depends on what risks you're talking about, because the risks differ in terms of age groups. So if you're thinking of the 18 to 30-year-olds, we call them the young invincibles. They don't want to go to the doctor at all because they think absolutely nothing is wrong. And so the risk there is more from accidents and things like substance abuse and what have you. If you're thinking of cancer, we used to say if you're in the 60 plus age range, that the risk of getting cancer is much higher, but we're now beginning to see a concerning rise in cancers in the 40s. From a mental health perspective, the recent COVID pandemic revealed that we ought to be concerned about mental health for folks beginning in their teens. And so it just depends on the risks that we're talking about. And as I said, the risks differ by age category.
I was just going to say, our future as men and quite frankly, the human race depend on this, right? I think a lot of us come from, our fathers and grandfathers, grew up during world wars, grew up during the Great Depression, and the trauma that these events induced were just never discussed, right? And as generations go by, from boomers to X to millennials to what are we, Z now? Some men are more able to open up, but the bottom line is we're human beings. And the men who refuse to open up about their traumatic life events and the things that are either deeply disturbing or deeply stressful for them, those emotional, mental things manifest as major physical health issues.
That sounds like really impactful conversations for men's health, but she was also in the magazine twice. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so she's our employee spotlight this issue, and for a good reason. There's a lot of great reason to highlight Melissa's work because she is the driving force behind all of our communications work here at TAC and, the work I do in the magazine and you in the podcast.
Mary, thank you so much for joining today. So where can people read County Magazine?
Yeah, so if you want to view the digital version, you can visit our website at county.org. There's also a button on there to subscribe. So if you're interested in getting a physical version sent directly to you, but they are also now in county offices. So pick up an issue, whether it's in your office or you can go by someone else's. So we'd love for you to check it out.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Well, we'll also put links in the description to the magazine and some of the other referenced websites throughout the episode. Texas County Voice is a podcast from the Texas Association of Counties about the people, issues, and all things important to Texans and Texas counties. To learn more about the Texas counties and the Texas Association of Counties, visit county.org. We'll see you next time.